Me set my timer. It's Vicky, everyone. I'm really happy to be here, and thanks for coming. My name is Julien, and I'm a software engineer from south of France, Toulouse. And I'm here to talk to you about the web and Ionic. Before we start, I wanted to ask you some questions to get to know you better. So please raise your hand if you have heard of Ionic before. Okay, so 50% maybe of you. How many actually used it? Few of you, okay. Okay, cool. You're gonna learn some stuff here then. A little bit more about myself. I previously worked for eBay in China, and now I have my own company doing freelance work for with TopTal. TopTal is a platform for freelancers based in the US, and I'm specialized in single page applications using Angular, Ionic, and React. And I'm also a community leader, creator of Angular meetup in my hometown, also GDG Toulouse. Okay, so I want to start this talk by telling you a story about the web. And as in every tale, it always starts like this. Once upon a time, in a country not so far away. Which country? Switzerland, yes. Switzerland. It's not full screen, man. Is it? Okay. So Tim Berners-Lee, this guy, created what we know as the web today. He implemented the first successful communication between a client and a server via the internet. And we are in 1989. I was only 2 years old. I don't know about you guys, but I was really young. How many of you were not even born? 2, 3, 4? Okay. So if you think about it, this is a bit crazy because today we take the web for granted. We use it every day, right? But it was created less than 30 years ago. And in 1994, Netscape browser came out. It was not the first browser, but this one is really important. Do you guys have any idea why it is important? Nope. Yeah, JavaScript. Cool. Okay. Because in 1995, Netscape is known as the creator of JavaScript. Yeah. The most popular language in the world, according to the latest Stack Overflow survey. And guess what happened the year after this? CSS, yeah. So CSS was created in 1996, and even today we still have trouble with it, right? And this from this moment on, things got really out of hands. Imagine that at this point of time, developers had in their hands everything needed to create amazing websites, to create great user experience, but instead they created this. They created a website with awful backgrounds, rainbow text, with the blink tag also, right? You know, this tag is real famous. Great GIFs and layouts made out of tables. If you do this today, you will for sure get fired, so don't. And the funniest thing that is that this is an actual bootstrap theme that you can use today if you are nostalgic of the 90s. They also created websites like this one, ismycomputeron.com, right? Think about it. Okay, so now without any transition, let's talk about mobile. At this point of history, in 2007, 10 years ago, the web on mobile became a reality. Not that it did not exist before, but the iPhone made the web accessible and close to the desktop experience. It is, to me, the starting point of the modern web. This was 10 years ago, right? But so the next question we want to answer is it different today? Well, the web nowadays is in every pocket. Even cheap smartphones can run a decent browser. The web is just a click away, anywhere, anytime, to anyone. The web is at your office, is also at home via smart TVs, or within planes when you travel, in cars. Indeed, Tesla, for instance, added a web browser in the car, and this is a real trend in the industry. And even in the air. So right now, this MacBook here acts as a beacon to broadcast the link to the slides, these slides, via what we call the physical web. And yes, I do love kitties, if you were asking, if you were wondering. Sorry. All right, so let's stop listing all the places where the web is, because this could go forever. Let's just say that the web is everywhere, yeah. And that's something we all have noticed in our life, and we do not think about it that much because for our generation it's pretty natural. So the web now is everywhere. What else evolved in 10 years? Mobile devices evolved. Since the first iPhone in 2007, the processor's performance have increased with higher calculation power on multiple cores, and also the memory have increased drastically. Now we have in our pockets more calculation power than the computer that landed mankind on the moon back in '69. And what about browsers now? Well, we all have noticed this in our daily life, right? We have infinitely better browsers now than back in the Internet Explorer 6 time, right? The browser are constantly improving HTML and CSS performance via the web browser engines such as Blink, Gecko, WebKit, and their JavaScript engine as well, V8, SpiderMonkey. And now all modern JavaScript engine compile JavaScript code directly into native machine code. This happens before executing the JavaScript code and makes it up to 10 times faster. It is called the just-in-time compilation. Mobile browsers now support native throttling, which allow your application to listen to asynchronous throttling events correctly. And that's pretty new as well. It did not exist on mobile browsers like 2 years ago. So this is, and this is used for features such as infinite scroll on mobile. And to finish, browsers now support progressive web apps, which has been the buzzword for the past 2 years, but is definitely, to me, the next generation of the mobile web. And to have a better understanding of what is a progressive web app, we're going to watch this video.
The only thing that evolves faster than technology is our expectations. We want everything. Better, easier, now. Suddenly, downloading an app feels like it takes forever. And in many parts of the world, data is still at a premium, with 1 megabyte costing up to 5% of a monthly wage. Let's face it though, until now, the alternative to native apps hasn't been great. But that was then. Progressive web apps can now deliver mobile web experiences with a native look and feel, offering features like real-time push notifications, adding a site to your home screen so you can easily jump back to it with a single tap, even when you're offline. Plus the ability to make quick payments on the go. And all from your browser. This is the next generation of the mobile web. So what are we waiting for? Let's go and build something great.
Okay, so let's recap what we just saw. So progressive web app is installable without the stores via the Add to Home Screen button you have on the menu. It has a native look and feel. Your app is directly searchable on Google, and you can directly install it through Google. Your app runs on a secure connection and uses a service worker. So a service worker is just a JavaScript file that is run by your browser in the background, and it's completely separated from the web page and handles events fired either by the web page or the browser. What's cool about that is since it runs in the background, it doesn't need the web page to be open. We can therefore leverage the offline capability with network and asset caching. We can also prefetch assets ahead of the user to have a fast bootload and also to keep the app up to date when we release a new version. And to finish, we can re-engage users via push notification, web push notification. So this is a question, interesting question. Why bet on the web in 2017? Well, as we discussed, there are many reasons. First of all, the web is a standard runtime that is available everywhere, right? The browsers and devices' performance are upgrading all the time. The web requires skills that most of us already have. And the web has now a killer feature, which is a way to run background processes with service workers. And to finish on this, I want to quote Adam Bradley, who is the Ionic project lead, and he said this, and I quote, "It is an exciting time to be a web developer." He said that at NG Europe in Paris last year, and I completely agree with him. If you are a web developer today, only sky is the limit. So I hope you guys are now convinced that the web is something that we need to invest on. And if you are, I want to present you one of the best tools there is to build web mobile application today. Introducing Ionic. So Ionic is a software developer kit, SDK, to build cross-platform applications with web technologies. Ionic first release was 4 years ago now. The first version was built on top of AngularJS, known as Angular version 1. And now the current version of Ionic is based on the latest version of Angular 2+, which is now Angular 4. And it's written also in TypeScript. So let's see how popular Ionic is. Ionic has a huge community. We are around 12,000 developers on the Ionic worldwide Slack. As you know, the bigger the community is, the easiest it is to find good resources, plugins, or even answer to your questions. Ionic is within the top 50 most popular open source project on GitHub with 29,000 stars. And the official estimated number of applications created with Ionic is 4 million. So as you can see, Ionic is extremely popular and it's not going anywhere. With only one code base, based on the web technologies, we are able to create applications for many platforms. Among those, we have Android, iOS, Windows Universal, desktop apps via Electron, and of course, browsers. It is one code base to rule them all. One thing that I really want to emphasize here is that there is no need to learn about Objective-C or Swift for iOS, and even Java for Android. Once again, all you need are web technologies. Ionic comes with dozens of components out of the box. We have, for instance, buttons. On the left side, we have material design buttons for Android. And on the right side, we have buttons for iOS And this is the exact same code. As you can see, once built, the app embraces the device UI. We also have cards, icons, and as you can see also here, even icons are different per platform. Date picker, segments, which is a popular UI on iOS. We have models, loadings, and slides to create some tutorial if you want. So with Ionic, you get the majority of components you might need to create a good user experience. Let's see how simple it is to use those components, shall we? The Ionic component semantics helps developer when it comes to understand what they are dealing with. Let's see an example. First, we have the header component. This component includes a toolbar that itself includes a title. The result is what we see on the left side. There is no surprise. Just by reading the code semantic, you can get an idea of what the result will be. The content is the rest of the page that contains a card which has a title and contain a list of buttons. Ionic component semantic helps developer understand and build better UI easily. With Ionic, you can leverage the power of several layers of awesomeness. First, you have your JavaScript code that is on top of everything. And your code sits on top of Ionic, so you can use any Ionic components or services. Ionic being based on Angular, you can also reach Angular features such as the HTTP module to make HTTP requests if you want. Then your app runs on a web view or a browser, depending on the platform. And to interact with the device features, such as the camera, you can use either Cordova, if you want, or if you want to build an hybrid app for iOS or Android, for instance, or you can use HTML5 if you want to build for the web. Your Ionic application has therefore access to every API needed to build a complete application. We saw earlier that what was a progressive app, right? And why it is the next generation of the mobile web. With Ionic, you get a pre-configured service worker out of the box. All the assets needed to run the app are pre-cached by default. The rest is simply cached when used and can be accessed offline. We also get a pre-configured manifest that contains information such as the app name, the splash screen background color, icons, etc. What you need to remember is an Ionic app is already a progressive app. To install Ionic on your machine, we first need to install the Ionic CLI. It can be installed globally with this command. And the CLI help you to create new applications, can help you create new pages, component providers, etc. It can run a local server. It can run the app on the emulator or directly on device. And it allows you to build on every known platform as well. As you can see, all you need is the CLI. I'm going to see that right now because it's demo time. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to create an app. We're going to serve it locally. And we're going to create a new page and we're going to navigate to it. That's it. It's really simple, but you'll see how easy it is to make this happen. So first, creating an app. So we can use the CLI, the Ionic start command. This will open a page. is there. They ask you for app name, so I'm gonna call it like Riga 5 because I have 4 version before. And you can use the template you want for your application. You can have tabs, so you will have an app with 3 tabs already by default. You can have a menu, a left side menu. So we're going to use this one, or you can use a blank one if you want. Click continue, and then you can see that the command line that it's installing npm packages. So this could take forever because npm like want to install half of the internet. So to wait, I want to show you this. I don't know if you know this. Elevator.js. It's a plugin you can use on your website, and when you scroll down and back to top, okay. So we're back at the top. It's still installing. So what we're going to do is I have an offline version. We're going to use it because this will take too long. Okay, so Riga 2 is the project I created. It has the Node modules already installed. What we're going to do is we're going to serve this app. So to do this, we're going to use the CLI once again, Ionic serve. We'll create a new tab here with the app, hopefully. Yes. Okay, this is our app. We can use the Chrome DevTools if we want to make it look good on a device. So this is on Nexus 6. I'm going to reload to, you have a left side menu, right? And we can also check it out on iPhone if we want. We need to reload and see how it looks. It looks different. Even the animation of the menu is different. We have a better serve command, which is Ionic serve --lab. You're gonna see it's much better if we want to see the differences between devices. So you can select the device you want to see the app on. And you can see the difference here. So this is Windows, this is Android. Different animations. Okay. So we're now gonna add a new terminal, and we are going to change the home page. So the home page right now is Hello Riga. We're going to change it to the example we saw on the example before. So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to dump the code we saw earlier, which was a toolbar with a title and some buttons with a card. I save. It's going to reload. That's what we saw earlier in the slides. From this page, we are going to go, we want to go to the shopping page. So right now, if I click here, nothing happens. So first, we need to create this page, the shopping page. Once again, we can use the CLI to do this. Ionic generate page shopping. Okay, it's done. It has created 4 files: the HTML, the module, which is an Angular thing, SAS file, and also the components. Okay. Before we can use it, we are going to need to import it in our ng module, which is also an Angular thing. So I'm going to include it here. shopping module. I think this is fine. We need also to add it here. I think it's not the right one. I think it's shopping page that I want. But yes, or maybe shopping model. Let's see. Not sure. Okay, I saved. Okay, this is not what we want. This is the demo syndrome. See this. I don't see it. Oh, it's still true. I'm gonna remove this and try again. Will automatically import stuff, so I'll use it. Okay, page looks cool. Yeah, cool. It works. What we're gonna do now is in the home page, we're gonna create in our component, we're gonna create a new method that is called go to shopping page. Okay? Because we want to navigate to this page from this home component. I'm gonna use this nav controller, which is a controller to interact with the navigation system of Ionic, and we're going to push the new page, which is the shopping page. Okay, it's automatically imported here, so it looks fine. And now we need to use a click event on our shopping button here. Go to shopping page. If I click, and this should be it. Finger crossed. If I click shopping, the shopping page opens. Okay. That's what I wanted to show you. How easy it was to create this. Now we're gonna go back to the slides. Okay. And before we conclude this talk, I wanted to show you the whole ecosystem of product and services Ionic has. So first we have Ionic Creator. Ionic Creator is a service to prototype applications with a drag and drop interface. So you can drag and drop component within your app or on several pages. You can test your app live. And when you are happy with the code, with the page, you can export the code. This is super helpful for people that do not know how to code, but want to focus on the user experience before handing over to developers. There is also Ionic View, which is an app that you can install either on iOS or Android and let your users, your beta users, to test your app before anybody else. It replaces the alpha and beta testing you might know on Android and iOS, which is super complicated and really long to install. Once your app is ready with Ionic View, you can just use the CLI and the Ionic upload command, and the app will be instantly available to your test users via this app. You can use Ionic Deploy also, which is a service that lets you publish your app directly to your users without going to the app stores. When beta testers are okay with the build you sent, you can directly deploy on all your users a new version of the app instantly. And if you have experience with native apps, this could take days, especially for iOS. And there is also Ionic Packages, which makes easy to build native binaries of your app for iOS and Android directly on the cloud. And it is perfect for developers using Windows or Linux and that want to build an iOS app, for instance. You do not need an Apple machine to do this anymore. All right, so let's conclude this talk. Here are the things you should take home with you. With Ionic, you get a progressive web app by default. With the Ionic CLI, there are no complex Webpack or gulp configuration. It's already done for you. There is only one code base. One code base is necessary to build on every platforms. Your components use the device-specific UI standards, so on every platform, users have the look and feel they are expecting. A large set of components are available out of the box, and many more are available on market.ionic.io. And as a developer, the component semantics makes it really easy to pick up what you're dealing with. Your application code can leverage Ionic, Angular, HTML5, or Cordova APIs directly. Ionic has a great services around the SDK as well. Ionic Deploy, Ionic Packages, etc. And to finish, the community is what makes Ionic so special. With thousands of developers like myself advocating for Ionic around the world, creating plugins, components, themes, etc., Ionic is super successful. That's it for me. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any questions?
Questions first about tooling. So is it all free, or some of them are paid, or everything is paid?
Oh, everything is free.
Okay. And second question, when
It's
we
open
get
source.
to platform special features like AirPlay, on what level it's used? Do Ionic provide some platform-specific components?
So Ionic is based on Cordova.
Yeah.
If you want to access native APIs, for example, AirPlay, or the camera, or the Wi-Fi, etc. So you can use Cordova. And there is a Cordova plugin for anything you might want to use already.
And sorry, the third question. Is there some kind of support for Ionic, like IntelliSense and other
IDEs?
modern IDEs? Yeah.
I use Windows Studio Code, and there are some plugins already. Yes, I have no idea about IntelliJ or WebStorm. No idea,
Okay.
but it must exist.
Hi. So the question, can you build like one application and use the same application for in web browser and in mobile? Like
Yes.
with this Ionic, or like create the same Angular app,
Yes.
let's say, and then for web deploy it on the web server, and it will be used like a regular web application, and then package it for App
Yeah.
Store.
Yeah, that is the purpose of Ionic. I can go back to this line maybe. Just before this. Yeah. So with one code base, you can build for all the platform you want. You can build for the web. You can deploy it on a server, accessible to anyone. Okay. You can build for iOS or Apple, iOS or Android with Cordova. And you can also use, you can build for desktop application with Electron. So one code base, and you can deploy everywhere.
Okay, so basically you will end up for like web, just a regular Angular application.
Yes.
And,
And there are a lot of native device API you can use through HTML5 already. For instance, the camera is accessible directly with HTML, so there is no need of Cordova for the web.
and also a question about the like application size. What's
The size?
Yeah, like for Android and iOS.
It's
Like,
so the size is, I think it's around, like for a blank app, is I think it's 3 megabytes. It's not much. Then if you can also embed your app within a web view, like a modern web view, if you want, and then package it to your user. And if you do this, it will be like around 20 meg. But every user has the same web view, and it works better on old app devices, for instance. So at 3 megabytes, if you don't do anything, and you want to deploy it everywhere. If you want the same experience for all devices, for instance, for Android, like all devices, Android 4, or you can embed a browser directly within the app, and then it's around 20 megabytes.
okay, thank you.
One more question. There must be a drawback of all this. It's nice to build application with one code for all platforms. Is there like a point where you wouldn't choose building it with Ionic, like performance issues, maybe?
It's just the web, right? So, like I said, the web is improving all the time. But yeah, if your goal is to build, like for instance, an iOS and just an iOS and Android app, maybe you should choose something else, something that leverage the native features of the native components, such as React Native or NativeScript. If you just want to build on these platforms, if you want to build for all the platforms and have only one code, you should definitely choose Ionic. It really depends on the use case.
Is there any resistance from Apple in terms of these applications not going through App Store?
That question always come up for some reason. So far, no, but you never know with Apple. I think this might be an issue at some point, but right now it's fine. And also, I think React Native as well can update the application instantly without going through the stores. So it's a trend, and hopefully this will stay like this. Oh, thanks everyone. 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 Oh.